My name is Terry Kingen. I first met Chris as we were both working for Tommy's Guitar Shop. Tommy Stanley was gracious enough to have a few guys who were working there that I've known for it since then, and it's just been a lot of fun, and we keep in contact to some degree. My dad played acoustic guitar. He only knew 4 chords, but he could play 100 old country songs. And so I would listen to him before I was even born. After a while, I ended up sitting at his feet and watching him, and he would do his old country songs, and he would drink Olympia beer and smoke Camel non-filter, Camel bare ass, if you will, and he had them rolled up in his t-shirt sleeve. And the more beer he drank, the more he changed the lyrics to naughty lyrics. And my mom would come in and say, "Bob, don't sing that in front of him." And he would laugh. And so to this day, even though, in honor of my father, I still have a tendency to change lyrics at times. When I was, I think in 3rd grade, I saw an ad in the back of a comic book where if you sold vegetable and flower seeds, a box of them, you could win a prize. And one of those prizes was a folk guitar. And I thought, boy, that's for me. I've got to do that. So I sent away for the box of seeds, sold them, and then went, boy, I'm going to get a guitar now. And waited for it to come into the mail. And when it came, it was made out of purple plastic, and it was about this big. But it was a guitar. But then after that, I just started mowing lawns and weeding gardens, and even did a little bit of house painting in junior high, and bought a Fender Esquire. It was one of the ones, I think they were maybe around 1960 or so, where they made blonde ones with black binding. And I bought one of those and had it for a while, decided that I needed to have a humbucking pickup in it. So I went over to my buddy's house and we got out a chisel and a hammer from his dad's toolbox and punched a hole in that thing to put humbucking in the neck position. And whoever owns that guitar now, I'm completely sorry about it, but I was only like 12 or 13 years old. So anyway, that's how I originally got into it, and I started playing, with some little rock bands with my buddies, and then as time went on, I just got more and more involved in it. In high school, my senior year, I had a couple of teachers that sponsored me for special project classes, and so I used that time to study jazz and learn scales with the modes, and I played in the jazz vocal choir, and I played for the jazz stage band, and learned how to read chord charts. And then I got into college and did the same thing. And then I dropped out of college and started working for a living and playing in local rock bands at nighttime. So I started working my way to several different lifetimes of work history, and finally got into the corporate world in my 40s, and did that until I was, I think, 2012. And I decided, well, now it's time to do something else with my life. I was working 70 hours a week. My hair was falling out, turning gray, and my wife divorced me. And I thought, well, things have to change here. So I started calling around to luthier schools, and I got accepted at Atlanta Guitar Works. He rented me a room in the school, and we got it all set up, and I had access to their shop 24/7, and just had a great time, and it just changed my life.
At a certain point, you struck off on your own. How did you come to that decision?
Okay, well, the decision that I had, Tommy Steinley, gave us both positions in his shop, and I was working the repair bench, and you were doing some repairs as well, which was very helpful. And something that I realized along the way is that, if you are having trouble with your brain, you don't go to a proctologist. And so with that kind of philosophy, I started thinking, what do I do well, and what am I more natural at, and what things do I not like to do? And I just started focusing on things that I enjoyed more. And then I have friends who are in the business that can do things that I don't do, and I refer work to them.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And so, how has this been working out for you? It seems great.
Yeah, this has been working out very well. It was when COVID hit that I decided not to go back into the shop anymore at Tommy's, and just put together a small shop here. And I've never done any kind of advertising or anything, and it's just been word of mouth. And I've been as busy as I want to be since then. So thank my lucky stars, thank you, God, whatever you believe in, and hopefully that'll continue on until I can't do it anymore. So this one was the one that I built at Atlanta Guitar Works, and I'd always wanted to have a Telly Paul. I also wanted to have something that was cream colored with black binding to kind of commemorate the one that I butchered back when I was 13 years old. And also wanted it to be a hollow body. So this is a true hollow body. There's just a block underneath the bridge to sandwich everything together. And the Atlanta Guitar Works, there was a company called Mullinex Pickups, and they were right in the area, so they came in and taught us how to wind pickups. And so I bought these Mojo kits, these little mini humbuckers, and wound those, and wound a few other pickups that I use in other guitars too. And they've been working out great. And I always wanted to make sure that the volume was right here so I could do the swells, like the steel guitar type stuff. And unfortunately, the neck that I carved, it was carved out of raw wood, just maple, and it had a shape that I just loved. But as I started playing it when I got home here and I started using it on gigs, I realized there was a rattle going on in there, and the truss rod was loose. And so anyway, that was a learning lesson. And I went over to a buddy of mine's, Mark Arnquist, and he said, well, maybe we can do something with this. So we took out a couple of the dot markers and started squirting caulking in there. Hopefully that was gonna, and it just made it too heavy, Anyway, right now that neck is a wall hanging. I bought a Squier Jazzmaster from Craigslist, and realized there were things that were problematic with them. And so I thought, well, I do like the Jazzmaster ethic, but I wanted to correct those problems. And so I started looking around. Now, this is a thin line, and the body I did not build. I got this from a guy in Minneapolis who has a CNC machine, and I think I paid like $89 for the body. Anyway, when it came, I wanted to have a nice finish on it, and my friend Mark Arnquist sprays. He does a good job on finishes, so we chose out some colors. And as we got looking at it, the body was cracked, and you could actually take it and go like this, and you could see the cracks. So Mark ended up gluing it up for me, and it turned out really nice. And with the bridge mechanism, on a Jazzmaster, they're notorious for not being in tune. And so I found this guy, this Swope, and it's SWOPE, and he made it his life mission to solve the problems with Jazzmaster bridge assemblies. And so I bought this from him. But one of the things that he did was for the break angle going over the bridge, he actually has some shims underneath here so that you can take the strings down below. Yeah, and then on the bridge itself, the two outside, the two E-string saddles are stationary, but all the ones in the middle, you can actually alter the radius. And I don't really go with the radius for my own guitars. I don't match the radius to the fingerboard. I just go by feel on that. And I bend strings a lot, so I like to be able to get up underneath the string stuff. So a lot of guys like their action right on the deck. Like the joke goes, when I die, they're going to burn me as low as possible without buzzing. So so anyway, that's how this came about. I tried several different pickups, and I have a set of Duncan Seth lovers and a few other pickups I tried, but I'm not really a humbucking guy, it appears. I've been a Telecaster guy most of my life, so I kind of like the nuance of the brighter pickups. And so these are the Duncan Fat 90s, or whatever the heck they call them. Yeah, So anyway, they're P90s, and they're a little bit better. I had this one. A guy traded me the neck pickup for some work, so I got that. And then I needed to have a bridge, and locally there was a guy that had a gold one, which I prefer to have all nickel, but it was gold, and I don't care if it's a different color. And it just sounds great, and so it's got that P90 vibe, and so that's been a real nice thing for me to do. Then I've got a couple other Telecasters and a Strat and a Epiphone hollow body. That's what I play most of the time. Okay, philosophy that I use, I start off with when a customer comes in and they want a setup, just a typical setup. I'll watch them play, see what their right hand looks like, what their left hand looks like. That can make all the difference in the world. So I try to tailor to that to some degree. I will set it up the way that I would play it first. And then I like to have the customer here as well while I'm doing the work, so I can talk them through things, I can ask any questions. Then I hand the guitar to them and I say, find something to complain about. And then if they have any issues with anything, then we make adjustments right then and there, so that when they leave here, they have the guitar that they enjoy playing and they get what they want. And so that's been a successful approach for me. And being a small business guy, I can afford to have just one guy come in a day, two guys. I've had times where I've had 10 people come in a day and try to get them all done. And but I prefer to go a little bit slower nowadays. I'm approaching 70 years old, and I want to have fun in my life. I've already had a whole lifetime of hard work, and not saying that doing this kind of work is easy or anything, but it's more to my liking, and it agrees with my personal ethics more, than doing corporate, billion-dollar work.
Sure.
Yeah.
Are there types of repairs that you either don't like doing or prefer, or would say it's not worth doing?
Well, there have been people that brought in guitars that were definitely not worth putting the money into, and I try to convey that to them, especially old heirloom guitars that have been in the family. Now, maybe great granddad got it from Montgomery Ward back in the days through a catalog, and the action is so high you can fly a Cessna under it, they'll say my grandfather had this guitar, I would love to be able to play it again, but it would require so much work, way more than the guitar is worth. And I try to talk them into just doing it as an art piece. Hang it up on the wall and look at it and salute granddad every once in a while. And or a lot of times people might buy something at Value Village or the Goodwill and come in and say, my son or daughter is 12 years old and they really want to get into guitar. Can you make it so they can play this? And so I'll take a look at it, and something they bought for $35 or $40, and I'll tell them what it would take in order to get that up to snuff, and it might be better for them to go to a local store and buy a student model guitar for $150 or something. So I try to be real honest with that, and I'm not in a position where I want to try to take any money from anybody for it. I want to just be above board and honest about everything, and that has worked well for me so far, and hopefully it'll continue working well for me. And I get repeat business, from some of those people, and then they'll go out and buy that $150 guitar and come in and still have me set it up for the kid.